Hey, my name is Francisco Dean. I also go by the Photo Booth Man. I'm the owner of ProSnap Booth, and you're watching Liz Taylor TV.
Thank you, Francisco, for joining me today. So before we talk about your business, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my family is originally from this country called Panama. So I'm a first generation American. They moved to the country before I was born. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and then we moved to Atlanta when I was about 5 years old. We moved to the south side of Atlanta to a city called East Point, Georgia. So that's where I grew up. I went to elementary, middle, and high school. Same, city all 3 years. Didn't move around much. So we're pretty blessed to, have that stability in my life. And then after high school, I was blessed to be able to go to college. I went to Georgia Southern University where I studied electrical engineering. And then after that, stayed out of work for maybe a year or two, did some warehouse work, and then I finally was able to get into my field. Worked for that company for about 3.5 years before they let me go, and that's when I really got into entrepreneurship.
Okay, so once you decided to take the path of entrepreneurship, did you already know what your product would be, or did it take you some time to figure it out?
I had already started the business while I was working there secretly. The company didn't know, but I was already doing events and doing business before they let me go, which allowed me to make that transition a lot smoother. Even though I kind of knew that it was getting ready for them to, give me my pink slip, I already had things kind of in motion. I had already been doing events, so it wasn't that hard. But initially, coming up with the idea, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I spent a lot of time Googling how to start a business for like under $5,000. I had a little bit of money saved up. My job was a really good paying job, and the bonuses were good every year. So I had, some bit of money saved up. Both me and my wife were working. So we weren't, in a hurtful position, and actually I had, a little bit of extra money. So decided, hey, why don't I start getting into entrepreneurship? Why don't I decide on building something that's going to allow me to have more freedom for my personal time, to build a legacy, something that I can pass on to future generations, just to be able to have ownership of something. Ownership is very important. So I think I had that desire already.
Okay, so your first event, who was it for and how did you get booked?
Yeah, so when I first got started, the first event that I ever did was a sponsorship event. Someone found me on Instagram and reached out to me to sponsor an event for actress named Demetria McKinney. She was having a Mother's Day event. She was treating several local mothers to a sit-down brunch and like gift bags and things like that. So the publicist for her reached out to me and asked me if I would sponsor the event. I said yes, and from there, it started to pick up. One mother from that event booked me for an event, and then from there, word of mouth started to pick up. And then I got on another platform called Thumbtack, where I was starting to meet clients as well, and the business just started picking up from there.
Right, because I saw on your Instagram you've done events for Lil Yachty, Offset from the Migos, and Candy from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So what was that experience like?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Like, I initially never would have thought that, starting this business would have allowed me to rub shoulders with the type of people that I've been able to rub shoulders with, the type of clients that I've been able to work with. Initially, I mean, I was mind blown. Like, I couldn't believe that I was gonna do, Lil Yachty's birthday, or, much less work with Candy on, the type of events that I've been working with her, at the OLG restaurant, for birthday parties, all types of things. Now it's more normal to me. So, even my friends to this day, they still, you know, get excited like, oh, you're working with such and such now, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you know, I am. In the beginning, I mean, like, it was a dream come true, and it still is. I'm not going to take away from that, but I've done it so much now that you know, you get kind of used to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so talk a little bit about your marketing strategy.
So right now, it's strictly word of mouth. Like, the way that I built my business was by networking very diligently. At every event, I would have my business cards. I would talk to everybody that comes to the photo booth. I would introduce myself. I would ask them if they had any events coming up. And surprisingly, people would actually respond and say, hey, yeah, I do have an event, you know, such as my daughter is, you know, graduating, or my husband's having a birthday party, or whatever. And that's how I built my business, through like good reviews, word of mouth, referrals and recommendations, and then using a lead platform like Thumbtack. But now I'm going to start getting into more aggressive advertising, like Facebook ads and Instagram ads. So be on the lookout for those.
Okay. So obviously we're in a time of COVID. How has that affected your business?
Oh man, I was heartbroken. You know, I can vividly remember, you know, in the height of the pandemic, when all of my clients started canceling their events, and I literally went from, you know, a booked calendar to zero. And it definitely took a toll. I had to scale back my business. But luckily for me, my business was already pretty lean. I'm able to do everything by myself because I don't have a lot of moving parts. You know, I don't have to pay a lot of expenses for different things. So for me, scaling back was just really putting my equipment to the side and shifting my focus to some other things. And now that business is starting to pick back up, I'm able to come out and bring my equipment back out and start servicing my customers again.
Yeah, well, that's a blessing, because I know a lot of businesses have suffered through all this. So I'm glad to hear that you are still able to book and you know, have your business growing. So you're at this point now. Do you have a team or do you work solo?
I'm working solo right now. There was times in 2019 when I had a team of 3 interns and even an assistant, and I have people, friends that work with me, friends and family, from time to time, different events whenever I need them. You know, I can call on them. But right now, it's really just me. I have a videographer that I work with, and also a brand strategist.
Okay, so if you could, what is your one biggest pro and one biggest con of owning your own business?
So I think that for me, being my own boss is like a pro and a con. It's like a two-edged sword, because on one side, you know, you're your own boss. You get to tell yourself when it is time for you to work, you know, what you're going to do today. You get to make your own hours, make your own rules. You don't have to be on someone else's clock. You're not like, you know, clocking in and feeling pressure and feeling like, you know, I have to go to work again today. You know, you get to choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, and you have the flexibility to go and come as you please. On the other side of that, you know, you have to be very diligent. You have to have a very determined mind that you're going to get this work done. You know, you can have a workload piling up on you if you keep neglecting and putting off work until the point where your business is going to suffer and eventually fail. So you have to be very diligent about, you know, staying on yourself, like, hey, I need to get this work done. I need to block off time. You know, whatever it is that you need to do, make sure that you do it to get your work done.
So tell us a little bit about the services you offer.
Absolutely, yeah. We offer on-site printing. Like, that's been a standard of our packages since the beginning. We also can upgrade you with, you know, customizations. We can do custom backdrops. We can do custom props. We can, you know, create a custom activation, just depending on the client and their budget. There's really no limitations. Your only limitation is your imagination. But we're here to facilitate that and to really help you, you know, bring that to reality. So that's really my expertise.
In your journey of entrepreneurship, what are some mistakes you wish you could have avoided?
There's one particular story where I dropped the ball on an event, and I learned a really valuable lesson about reputation. Your reputation is key. Like, you don't want to mess up your reputation. You want to uphold and keep a high standard. So I did drop the ball on a particular event. A client had booked me, but I didn't put them in the right channels of my normal booking channels, and I ended up not being able to make it to their event. They were highly disappointed, but of course I gave them a full refund. But I learned a valuable lesson on making sure that I keep up to date with all of my bookings. And even if someone, just books me verbally, like, hey, I want to work with you, and, they may give me cash in hand or, send me Cash App. It's still important to make sure that I put them in my system and treat them just like any other lead or client that I would work with. So, yeah, I learned that valuable lesson. Also, I would say for me, making sure that I speak up more, especially in public situations and public events, just announcing who I am and what I do. That's I would say a key to making sure that, people will want to, get to know you and know what you do and who you are. Don't be afraid, to speak up.
Okay, and last question. What advice would you give to people who want to start a business? What are the 3 tips you would give?
I would say make sure it's your passion before you try to become an entrepreneur. You have to be really passionate to want to be an entrepreneur. It's not for everyone. So find your passion. Find what it is that you're really, like, your heart loves to do, and that you would do for free anyways. Something that you would do for free, because there's going to be a lot of days where you're not going to be making as much money as you would hope or think, but you're going to have to still push through to get to where the destination that you're trying to get to. So make sure it's your passion. Second thing is also having the determination not to quit. You're going to face obstacles. You're going to come, to different situations on your journey to where you're going to feel like giving up. I remember one time, particularly for me, when I first started my business, I had my equipment stolen from me. Yeah, I I had it in my car, and being a little bit like just lazy to take the equipment in and out of my car.
Right.
I left it in overnight, and someone took advantage and broke into my car and stole the equipment. So that was a moment where I thought that business might not continue.
Right.
I thought that I was going to lose it all and not be able to continue. But luckily, I was insured, and insurance was able to reimburse me for everything, and I was able to repurchase all my equipment and get business back up and running within a fairly quick amount of time. So, I was thankful, I was saved, but you definitely have to have that mindset, because I could have easily just given up and said, I quit. This isn't for me. They're just going to steal my equipment again, or whatever the case may be. And just living in fear is not the way to go. So having that determination not to quit. And then last but not least is being willing to invest in yourself, in your business, and to take a big bet. You look at certain people that have started businesses, and if you go to their backstory, you'll see that they invested in themselves at an early stage. They put a lot of money into getting the business started. For me, my initial investment was over $3,000, and I was afraid, before I spent the money, even to the very last minute before I hit the purchase button, I didn't know if this was going to be a viable business. I was just buying this equipment based on, my faith that this was going to turn into something, but I didn't know. It could have been a waste of $3,000. I could have been throwing it down the drain. But you have to be willing to take that risk,
Right.
And there's no reward without the risk. So you have to, be willing to invest in yourself, not only in equipment, but in learning. You might have to go back to school. You might have to purchase that course. You might have to, spend money on your education, learn something new, or learn whatever it is in your field that you need to be able to, start this business.
So So overall, you don't regret taking the entrepreneurship path versus working a 9 to 5.
Oh, no, no, no. Like, I enjoy being an entrepreneur every day. I can't tell you how many times I've heard "I'm so proud of you" over the past few months. You know, I've been really ramping up my presence online, and like people are gravitating toward me. Like I'm seeing, you know, the energy that I'm bringing is attracting that same energy. Um, I thought that the day that I got fired was the worst day of my life, but it was actually the best day of my life. It really, you know, catapulted me into this journey, into this part of my life where I feel more free. I feel just the ability to do more, to help more people. You know, I think one of my goals this year is to help a few people get their own photo booth business started. So I have the ability because I've already gone through it. I've made all the mistakes, and I can pretty much, you know, hold your hand and walk you through it. So do I regret it? No, there's no way. You know, I'm going to actually start more businesses. You know, that's my goal, is to be really a serial entrepreneur. I want to, you know, start more and grow these businesses and just, you know, be a blessing to other people. So again, my name is Francisco Dean, the owner of ProSnap Booth. You can find me on Instagram at the Photo Booth Man and also at ProSnap Booth. So I want to give a big shout out to Liz Taylor TV. Thank you for having me, and see you next time.